Indianapolis International Airport on the Indiana economy. For the second time in 4 years, J.D. Power has named Indy the best medium-sized airport in North America. But with more nonstop flights, massive development on the way, the economic impact at the airport continues to grow. Airport Executive Director Mario Rodriguez is here with details. Plus, Bosma Enterprises, the state's largest provider of rehabilitation and training services for the blind and visually impaired. New CEO Jeff Mittman joins me to talk about a new program with Salesforce that is creating employment opportunities. And fall, it's a wonderful time of year in Indiana to get outside, see the changing colors, or even try something new. In this month's Trendiana segment, Yelp's Brittany Smith shows us a few new ways to experience fall around the state. Details on those stories and much more ahead on this edition of Inside Indiana Business. Hello and welcome to Inside Indiana Business. I'm Gary Dick. Well, Indianapolis International Airport is once again setting records and winning even more awards. The airport says it served some 4.7 million passengers through June. That's the highest passenger traffic number for the first 6 months of any year in the airport's history. And it has once again been named Best America in North America for its size by Airports Council International. Nonstop flights, once really almost non-existent in Indy, are at a record at more than 50. And Indianapolis will become just the third U.S. city to host the prestigious Routes Americas conference early next year. It all adds up to substantial economic impact. And joining me now with more on what's next, I'm pleased to be joined by Indianapolis Airport Authority Executive Director Mario Rodriguez. And as always, Mario, welcome to the program.
Gary, it's always a pleasure to be here with you.
Lots to talk about. Let's get right to it.
Absolutely.
First of all, the awards. You know, the airport's 10 years old. It's not that new an airport anymore, but the awards keep on coming.
Oh, and they'll keep on coming. Think about it. It's not about the building. The building's important, but it's really about the ecosystem. That's why we won J.D. Powers, which is an incredibly prestigious award. And all the hardworking men and women at the airport make up that ecosystem. And you get this wonderful sort of like customer service focus. And not only, remember, it's the people. It's not only their customer service, it's their drive not to remain at status quo. So we have right now the fastest Wi-Fi in the United States, and that's our people driving this new Wi-Fi. We have new furniture coming in. We have new amenities. It really is a focus on giving to the community the highest level of customer service.
Well, let's talk about economic impact. I mentioned 4.7 million passengers for the first 6 months, on pace for a record year. A lot of attention on nonstops. The business community, tech community in particular, say we want more nonstops. There are now more than 50 to some key markets. Can we expect more?
We're looking at more. Remember, we work for you. This is your community, this is your airport, and it underpins the economy. So our main focus was to make sure that we get the right nonstops. Right now, if you look at the latest MIT study, we're considered one of the top 10 mid-size airports in the United States for connectivity. That's because we're connected on the West Coast, we're connected with industry clusters, and we make sure that we underpin the economy here. Our main focus is all of you. It really is.
Let's talk about potential routes. The Paris nonstop, I know.
Paris, we're still looking at more European flights, which are very important. We're looking at Latin America. We're looking at places that we see the numbers trending to.
All right, so the airport, the new airport, getting the accolades, but the airport property extends a great way out there. There's additional impact when you look at FedEx, the massive FedEx hub, second largest cargo hub in the world. That continues to grow.
Oh, incredible. Think about it. Memphis is the busiest cargo airport in the United States, one of the busiest in the world. We're FedEx's second largest hub. Memphis can't grow. We're growing. We continue to grow. And as long as e-commerce continues to grow, which is a pretty good bet, we're going to continue to grow. Right now, between FedEx, Infosys, our construction projects, and different construction projects on the airfield, We have over $2 billion under construction, which is economic impact. Construction is an economic driver.
Yeah, good for the construction industry. You mentioned Infosys at the old airport site, Indian tech company, a tech giant, really adding 3,000+ jobs with this USA Training Center. It's going to bring a lot of people out to that area.
Oh, it's going to bring a lot of people, a lot of high-paid jobs. It really will be a sort of recreation of the West Side.
Yeah.
So in other words, it's a renaissance of the West Side. 3,000 high-paid jobs changes things.
You talk about, the airport not being a hub. It used to be a lot of cities would clamor for being, we want to be a hub. The fact that Indianapolis is not a hub, you view as really a positive.
It's benefit. We have more nonstops right now than when Indianapolis was a hub. So we have 50 nonstops, ATA was a hub, and we have 50 meaningful nonstops. What happens with hubs is that airlines aren't building any hubs. They're reducing in size. And you want a hub until you lose it.
Right.
And then you become Cincinnati and different areas that have been struggling for air service. Right now, if the business community, if we lose one airline, which we don't want to lose one airline, but if we do lose one airline, the others will fill in. So the business community will be well served.
Mario Rodriguez is the executive director of the Indianapolis Airport Authority, the front door really to Indianapolis and Indiana. Congratulations on the growth. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
All right. Well, also this week, Greenfield-based Elanco Animal Health announced plans to eliminate about 250 jobs as part of a restructuring. Now, the vast majority of those cuts are outside of Indiana at Elanco operations in Canada, China, and England. The company says it expects to see about $12 million in savings next year as a result of the move. Elanco recently marked 1 year since its initial public offering after spinning out of Eli Lilly and Company. Still ahead, Indianapolis-based Powder Keg recently honored Indiana tech companies who emphasize and prioritize strong workplace culture. This week, we profile Authentics, a business that walked away with the top award for emerging culture. We'll tell you about the company and get its keys to success. That's next. It's time now to go inside innovation. Well, Powder Keg is named Authentics as the top emerging culture winner at its recent Indiana Breakout Tech Culture Awards. Founded just a year ago, Authentics says it helps clients listen to and analyze customer interactions that come into their particular places of work. And join us now to talk culture and how the Authentics platform blends human and automated analysis. Pleased to welcome founder and CEO Amy Brown. Amy, welcome and congratulations on the award.
Thank you. It's great to be
I
here.
want to talk about culture and that award in a moment. But first of all, Authentics, just a year old, but already you're gaining some traction. Give us really the business model.
Yes, so we are a B2B SaaS platform. We work with companies, particularly in the health business space. And what we do is work with them to leverage insights that come out of their day-to-day interactions with their customers or patients. So think about call center, emails, chat communications. What a lot of businesses don't realize is those interactions are chock full of insights that can help them grow their business. And so we help them make sense of those, shed a light on them, and help them make business decisions.
So basically using technology to help companies understand there's reams and reams of customer interaction and data, which, it's all great, but unless you know how to use it, it's a challenge.
Exactly. Unstructured data, like customer to business conversations, that's what we call unstructured data, and it can be very messy, but yet it is also very important, rich set of insights, and so we help them organize it, surface the best insights, and our platform shows them the way of where they should be paying attention.
And your customer base, again, mid-sized to even some very large companies, right?
We do. We have a top 10 pharmaceutical client, and we are working specifically in the health insurance and pharmaceutical space, as well as healthcare systems.
You, as mentioned, won the Emerging Culture Award at Powder Keg, the tech networking platform, their recent awards. Big award for you, a small company right now. You're looking to scale things, 8 employees. Why, in your view, is culture so important? And I mentioned your 3 core values, authenticity, courage, and inclusiveness.
Yeah, what I've come to learn is that setting your values first is the best way to start a business because it guides your company in how it hires employees, in how it approaches potential clients, even the fundraising process. Your values really set the path for for your direction strategically and otherwise. And so we made a very intentional promise to ourselves that we were going to establish our values first and everything else would flow from that.
Yeah, a lot of companies, organizations talk about culture, but it's being intentional, as you say, it takes some work.
It does. It takes intentionality, right? Yeah. It was not by accident that we chose the values that we did. And we hold each other accountable to them every day. It's a part of our vernacular.
Authentics, again, just a year old. You're looking to scale the company. As you look at growing the company here in Indiana, in particular Indianapolis, give us your perspective on the landscape here and the ability to grow a tech company here in Indianapolis.
You know, that has been one of the most delightful and astounding experiences as a founder, is just how supported I feel by the tech community, the associations and organizations that help founders make smart business decisions, the support even from the investment community. It's been just a wonderful experience. I can't say enough about how proud I am to call Indiana home.
Very good. Well, Authentics is a company that is growing. We're going to be following your story. Winner of the Emerging Culture Award at Powder Kegs' recent event. And Amy Brown, thanks as always. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks.
All right. Well, here's what's on tap now in tech news, served up by Sun King. Carmel's Edify Labs has closed on a $10 million round of seed funding. The round was led by San Francisco-based First Round Capital. Edify, which recently actually moved its headquarters to California, says it's among the 4 largest software seed rounds in the U.S. this year. Edify was founded in 2018 by Purdue University graduates. Indianapolis-based Kinsey Academy has announced a $7.8 million Series A funding round led by venture capital fund Rethink Education. Coding School says it will enable the expansion of its tech education model to students throughout the Midwest. Kinsey was founded in 2017 as a college alternative providing job-focused technology training. And Indianapolis-based Lightbound is under new ownership. The company, which provides internet, voice, network, and cloud services, has been acquired by Texas-based DataBank. As part of the move, DataBank has also sold Lightbound's fiber assets to Ohio-based Everstream. It says it plans to invest $38 million here to expand the fiber network to cover the entire Indianapolis metro area. And for Tech News 24/7, be sure to check out InsideIndianaBusiness.com. Coming up, some unique and fun ways to celebrate fall in Indiana. We'll ride the rails up north in Stark County, check out all things apples in Johnson County, and then head further south to jump on board for a fall foliage wine cruise on Patoka Lake. It's this month's Trendiana segment with Yelp's Brittany Smith. But next, Bosma Enterprises has provided jobs and opportunities to the blind and visually impaired for more than a century. Now the company has a new leader. We'll meet Bosma's CEO, Jeff Mittman, and learn about his plans for growth. Here's what's making news now around Indiana. Well, in Northeast Indiana, Auburn-based DeKalb Health is now Parkview DeKalb Health after becoming an affiliate of Parkview Health in Fort Wayne. Parkview says the transition will be gradual, with signage changing over the next several months. Vincennes University is partnering with 4 major Indiana employers to launch a training program to prepare students for careers in advanced manufacturing, as well as help those companies find skilled technical talent. The Indiana Federation for Advanced Manufacturing Education, or INFAME. It's a program that provides select students with training in automation, robotics, and other aspects of advanced manufacturing. And 3 Indiana television stations have been sold to Los Angeles-based Entertainment Studios, Inc. The Indiana stations involved in the deal include WFFT in Fort Wayne, WTHI in Terre Haute, which is an Inside Indiana business affiliate, also WLFI-TV in Lafayette. The company's subsidiary, Allen Media Broadcasting, says the deal, which includes a total of 11 stations, is valued at $290 million. Well, October is National Disability Employment Awareness Month. And did you know the unemployment rate for people who are blind or visually impaired nationally stands at 70%? Bosma Enterprises is the state's largest provider of rehabilitation and training services for people who are blind or visually impaired. And Bosma has a new leader. CEO Jeffrey Mittman has been in his new role since August. He joins me now in studio with more on what Bosma is doing to create even more employment opportunities. And Jeff, welcome to the program.
Well, thank you for having me.
First of all, before we get into some of the amazing things Bosma is doing, get a little bit on your story, because it really is incredible. 22-year Army veteran, but your life really changed in July of 2005 with a major incident.
Well, in 2005, I was on the fourth combat tour of my career and was injured, and woke up a month later at Walter Reed in Washington, D.C., and went through about 5.5 years of recovery and 40 operations before I eventually retired, moved back to Indiana and started off my career. And 7 years later, 8 years later, here I am at Bosma as CEO. So it's been a wonderful journey.
Yeah, well, and you're an Indianapolis native, Warren Central graduate. So 7, 8 years later, you're now the head of Bosma Enterprises, which is a major operation, more than a century of service. And one of the longest running programs at Bosma surrounds employment. So that is a big focus.
Absolutely, it's a big focus. It's been our main focus since 1915 is employing people who are blind or visually impaired. As you said, there's a 70% unemployment rate, and we're here to bring that down through what we do every day with our federal, state contracts and our local businesses, our partners that we work with right here in Indianapolis.
200 employees at Bosma here locally, more than half of those blind or visually impaired. But part of your focus on workforce centers around partnerships. You've got partnerships with big name companies like Salesforce and PPG. Talk about the importance of those business relationships and how that can help get more folks employed.
Well, our business partners come in. For example, Salesforce, we do a training program with Salesforce where we take blind or visually impaired individuals and train them to be Salesforce administrators, and then assist them in finding employment in the community. PPG, we do a lot of light assembly work for them. We do that for several partners in the community, but anytime we bring that business into Bosma, we're creating employment and opportunities for people who are blind or visually impaired.
Talk about technology, because I know that's a real focus at Bosma, is using technology to help in the process.
Well, technology is a great equalizer for somebody who's blind or visually impaired. So at Bosma, we use things like an app called Blind Squared that allows somebody who's blind or visually impaired to navigate inside a building. We use software, adaptive software on our computers, and sometimes the adaptation is very simple for a machine, and it comes right within the operating system, but it allows somebody who's blind or visually impaired to operate just like anybody else.
You're just a month into your role as CEO, but as you look going forward, it's a key focus area, what you really want to implement and execute going forward.
Going forward, Bosma Enterprises will diversify. We want to diversify our customer base and spread our reach throughout the community and bring partners in to do business with us in warehousing, distribution, contract packaging, and the like. And again, when we do that, we work with our local partners. We create employment using the very money they use to do business. We use it to put people to work, and we're providing them a high quality product and service just like anybody else would.
All right, Jeff Mittman is the new CEO at Bosma Enterprises. Business relationships, very important to the growth at Bosma. Jeff, thanks for joining us. You're a real inspiration. We look forward to following what you're doing at Bosma.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
Well, pumpkins, apples, and the stunning beauty of the changing leaves. It's typically how we think of fall in Indiana, but there's a whole lot more to experience, and Yelp's Brittany Smith is here to serve as our tour guide. Check out 5 fresh ways to celebrate autumn. Hoosier style. There she is in our Inside Indiana Business Social Media Lounge, presented by Star Commercial Banking. Indiana born for Indiana business. Well, there are so many ways to experience fall around Indiana, from taking a wine cruise on Patoka Lake or hopping on the Fall Harvest Train Ride up in North Judson. There's the theater, fall festivals, and a lot more. Yelp Midwest Regional Director Brittany Smith is here now with more on that in this month's Trendiana segment. Brittany, as always, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Fall is a great time to get out and explore Indiana. When people think of fall, I think they think of Brown County, and certainly that's a very, very popular area. But as you found out, there are so many spots around the state of
yes.
Indiana to
Yeah,
check
as we were saying before we hopped on, I'm like, there's so many places I want to go check out after doing this. So
Right.
very exciting.
Patoka Lake, I mentioned that.
Yes.
Huge lake that maybe not a lot of people in central Indiana necessarily know about, but in southern Indiana.
Yeah, exactly. Tucked near French Lick. Beautiful cruises that you can go on throughout the month of October, where they have a different Indiana winery featured on each of these cruises. You're doing 5 to 7 different tastings, taking in the fall foliage along the lake, and then have a couple different glasses of wine there. So a fun way to experience some local wineries in that beautiful setting.
And the views,
Yes,
you know, with the leaves
incredible.
changing would be very good.
Yeah, reflections.
Okay, fall marks the beginning of theater season
Yes.
here in Indiana. So coming here to Indianapolis in the Indiana Repertory Theater.
Yeah, located right downtown. So this year they have a new inclusion series. So it's 3 out of their 9 plays for the season that are focused on diverse storytelling. So all of the stories are focused on Native American stories, Chinese American, African American, with female playwrights, beautiful stories, and it's kicking off October 15th and So We Walked. So there's so many great shows throughout the year that you can check out there, along with their classics like A Christmas Carol that comes around here in December.
Very good. It's right around the corner. Okay, apples are certainly a big
Yes.
part of fall, as we all know, and you can experience all things apples in Johnson County.
Yeah, this is such a fun spot at Apple Works. So you can go, it's part petting zoo, part apple bakery, and a fun little store there. They have live music throughout the month of October, as well as everything apple that you can think of. Apple fudge, salsa, dumplings, pies. It's a really fun experience, great for the family.
Well, another one of the great tourist and cultural assets for Indiana and Indianapolis, Newfields, and that museum is part of the
Yes,
fall
the harvest kicks off this weekend. Actually, it's today through Sunday. For thinking about the pop-up exhibit where they have 50 acres of exhibits. So you can do everything from making a corn garland to having food demonstrations with local chefs. They have Oliver Winery, West Fork Whiskey, so many great local businesses all in one weekend.
Nostalgia, a lot of nostalgia around trains.
Yes.
And there are some trains that still exist in Indiana. One in particular, you visited northern Indiana,
Yes.
Stark County, for the Hoosier Valley Railroad Museum.
Yes, this is a beautiful way to take in 45 minutes of scenic views in the countryside. You can do an open air car, you can ride on the caboose. It's a beautiful way to see some Hoosier scenery. And they also have a museum right there, which is one of our Indiana treasures to experience.
And very quickly, these, again, so many of these places, they're entrepreneurial experiences. You've got businesses, individuals who are really out there taking some risk and putting together some really cool features.
Yeah, one of the things I love about the fall season is it's a great time to drive around Indiana, hop off the side of the road, check out some smaller rural businesses. It's a fun adventure.
Great trip around Indiana, as always. Brittany Smith
Thanks
from
so
Yelp.
much.
We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Well, still ahead, it is tough for those with dementia who, when they can no longer live in their own homes. An Indianapolis company working to change that through a unique and innovative approach to memory care. Business of Health reporter Kylie Valletta has details.
Plus, IU and Purdue working together to find promising treatments for Alzheimer's disease. Details coming up.
And that center comes thanks to a $36 million grant that provides new hope for a drug discovery for Alzheimer's. Stay with us. Well, the National Institutes of Health has awarded the IU School of Medicine a sizable grant to launch a new drug discovery center focused on finding treatments for Alzheimer's disease. Inside Indiana business reporter Mary Rachel Redmond has details.
This week, the IU School of Medicine received a grant totaling $36 million over 5 years to create a drug discovery center aimed at accelerating the development of drug treatments for Alzheimer's disease.
With this new investment and new partnerships that we have built, this will allow us to take a brand new crack at trying to identify and find new therapies. And I think it's absolutely essential for society, for Indiana citizens, so it's really exciting.
The new center is part of a strategic partnership with the Purdue Institute for Drug Discovery, one of only 2 multi-institution teams in the country selected for a new federal program designed to grow the drug development pipeline for Alzheimer's.
Purdue's role is really to bring our drug discovery infrastructure and expertise, and we have a very strong pipeline and expertise and infrastructure for drug discovery. So it's a very natural collaboration.
I don't think this has ever been tried before. Again, most of the drug discovery that has happened thus far has been within pharmaceutical companies or within biotech. And this really is a new, unique partnership, again, across multiple institutions to try to take a new and completely different look at it.
Alan Palkowitz, a senior research professor at IU School of Medicine and a nearly 30-year veteran of Indianapolis-based Eli Lilly and Company, is leading the collaboration and says the new Alzheimer's Center has two main objectives.
One, is to be able to create more understanding of the disease through our research, with the companion goal of hopefully identifying potential molecules that could be developed further that would eventually, result in therapies for patients. There's a lot behind that, of course, but it's really to, help the broader community understand more about Alzheimer's disease so we can build on those results. But we really like to be able to produce potential medicines that could be advanced to clinical study.
Mary Rachel Redmond, Inside Indiana Business.
All right, Mary Rachel, thank you. Also in the business of health, based in Indianapolis, Senior Home Companions has been providing non-medical in-home care for aging Hoosiers for 25 years now. Building on that experience, the company is launching a new concept focused on memory care. Business of Health reporter Kylie Valletta has more. Kylie.
Thank you, Gary. The company says the top choice among seniors is to remain in their home. But for people with dementia and Alzheimer's disease, staying at home is often simply not possible. Senior Home Companions recently opened Story Cottage in Indianapolis, a new model in memory care. The custom-built home has 8 individual bedrooms for 8 residents and is staffed by 2 caregivers. Story Cottage was full within 1 month of opening its doors, and the company is now making plans for more memory care homes in central Indiana. David Morgan is the owner and president of Senior Home Companions and joins me now to tell us more about this concept. Thanks for being here today.
Sure. Absolutely.
So your company has focused on in-home care for all seniors, but tell us how you arrived at this new idea for the residential memory care homes.
So Senior Home Companions is focused on creating active and engaged lives through exceptional care. So we've been doing that for about 25 years. And what we found as we worked with more and more families over the years was that memory loss is really challenging to do effectively. It's costly, it's time consuming. I'll never forget the first family I met with, and literally the caregiver was following the client around from bathroom to kitchen to bedroom, and it was just exhausting for everybody involved, including the caregiver. And so listening to our families for years, they just said there has to be a better way. And so a lot of them would put their loved ones in a large institution setting and come to us a week or two after being there and say, hey, we love this beautiful building, but we're not getting the care that mom or dad need. And so they'd bring us in on top of that. And so really this idea is birthed out of just listening to our clients for the last decade and really listening to their desire to have a higher level of memory care, not in the home setting, but in a small, more intimate setting.
And so this is the first custom-built residential memory care home in central Indiana. Give us some more details about the home. What is the setting like and what makes it really unique?
Yeah, so what's cool about this setting is that it's just totally customizable to each individual. And so most communities staff at a ratio of 9-to-1 or 12-to-1. Story Cottage only has 4 residents per staff member. And so it's a small, intimate environment. So the things that differentiate are, number one, it's a custom home. So it feels like it's just part of the neighborhood. It's nestled in the kind of Meridian Kessler area close to Nora on the north side of Indy, and it has this really great ambience, big mature trees around it. I have friends who drive down the street and say, I didn't even notice it was there because it feels like it's a part of the neighborhood. So that atmosphere is a huge differentiator. Secondly is this quality of the staff. We've been doing this for 25 years, so we've been able to handpick our very best caregivers to be part of this experience. So they understand where different people come from who live in the community and are able to tailor each day to what makes it a good day for them.
So we mentioned in the introduction that it was full within 1 month, which really speaks to the need for this new model, this new idea. Tell us about your plans to open more in central Indiana.
Yeah, so we're really blessed to be able to provide this niche service to a handful of clients, and we feel like there are more who would like this experience. We feel like there are a lot of large, wonderful communities that provide this experience, but the smaller, more intimate experience is a good fit for some people. So we'll do a handful more of these in the next few years that tailor services uniquely to each family and provide a nice, intimate experience for families.
And really around central Indiana, kind of the donut areas.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the plan.
Okay.
Yeah.
So one of the biggest challenges in senior care and memory care too is cost. So does this model address that at all?
Yeah, so memory care is expensive. It's hard to do. It's hard to do well. And so it does require an investment on the family's part to do this. But where we position Story Cottage is to be very comparable to a larger community setting. So the fees would be similar to that. It would be a cost savings from having somebody in their house 24 hours a day. So it's kind of an intermediary step. It's a smaller setting that provides a higher level of care and more customization. I love it that just last weekend I was at Story Cottage and one of our family members was there and she was helping make breakfast for her husband and a couple other residents who were there. And so we're really encouraging families to become part of the fabric of the community. They can walk down their street, these are in residential neighborhood settings, and really have a great experience with the best memory care possible.
And if you could just tell us a little bit about the growing need in general for senior care and sort of what you're seeing with your company.
Yeah, so it's obviously just expanding. So I think one of the most startling statistics is in about 10 years, about out of every 5 Hoosiers is going to be 65 plus. And so the need is there, but every senior wants to do it different, right? And so we're able to do that in the home care setting through Senior Home Companions by doing exactly what they want to do, tailoring solutions in the home settings, and then when it becomes too much in memory care in a small, more intimate environment to continue the great care.
Well, you're telling me about some of the really cool technology in these new homes too, so it's a great new option for seniors. Thanks for coming and telling us about it.
Thanks, Kylie.
Gary, back to you.
All right, Kylie, thank you. Well, also making news around Indiana this week, Indiana State University working to fill the talent gap in a relatively unknown but in-demand industry, packaging engineering. Instructor Brian James says demand for jobs in the industry is so high, the university's packaging engineering technology program has a 100% placement rate. The program teaches techniques on packaging design with a variety of materials, as well as how to test packaging to ensure the safety of products being shipped. Jones says for every student who graduates from packaging engineering technology programs in the U.S., there are 17 to 20 open positions. Well, coming up next, an alternative to the traditional way of starting a business, which usually consists of things like writing a business plan or securing a loan. It's called the PopUp Business School. It's free and it's coming to Indianapolis. We'll have details in our Eye on Education segment. Plus, we'll check in with Indy 11 CEO Greg Strimlaw on the secret behind the club's successful season, preparations for the playoffs, and the latest on that proposed Indy 11 stadium. Well, a campaign for DePaul, a fundraising drive which launched in October of 2014, is now the most successful campaign in the university's history. The Greencastle School says the campaign raised more than $383 million, exceeding the original goal by more than $83 million. The funds will help create more than 100 new named scholarships through an endowment called the DePaul Trust. There will be new student experiences and engagement, including increased internship, study abroad, and student-faculty collaborative research opportunities. Other initiatives include construction of a new stadium for field hockey, soccer, and lacrosse. The school also says nearly 800 students were awarded Fund for DePaul scholarships during the campaign. Well, since 2012, when PopUp Business School was founded in the United Kingdom, organizers say it has helped more than 1,500 businesses start without debt, and the school is coming to Indiana, only the second location in the U.S. it has really arrived at. Events are free, and for anyone with an interest in starting a business or a side business. And joining me now in our Eye on Education segment, pleased to be joined by Assistant Vice Chancellor for the Office of Community Engagement at IUPUI, Teresa Bennett, to explain the whole pop-up idea and the impact across Indiana. Teresa, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
I had not heard of this. I thought I'd kind of plugged into a lot of things in the business world. Had really not heard about this pop-up business school concept. Started in the UK in 2012. You found out about it and were able to attract it here. Talk about how it got here.
Well, I saw it on the PBS NewsHour segment, and it was in Houston. Houston partnered with their housing authority to bring it to the Houston area and had over 100 people attend. And the more that I learned about it, the more exciting I thought it was for Indianapolis.
We'll talk about the model and what this is. This is a 2-week call it a course, I guess, but a 2-week program. Talk about what happens during that 2-week period.
Sure. It's 2 weeks, Monday through Friday, 10 to 3. So it's an investment of time, but it's free thanks to our sponsors. What happens there is that people who attend learn a lot about their product design, marketing, networking, finance, tax and legal. And when they leave with a product plan, a marketing plan, a website if they didn't already have one, a social media plan if they didn't have one, and an online sales plan. So they really leave ready to launch and move their business forward.
Amazing opportunity. As you mentioned, it is free.
It is free.
Is there a limit? What's been the reaction, at least so far? How many folks do you have signed up?
Well, we've been excited by the reaction. We've had over 100 people now who are signing in. We're getting very close to some of our goals. We have room for 200 though, so there's a lot more room, and there's 2.5 weeks left to register.
And you brought up this point, which I think is important. When you leave this 2-week program, you've got most or all of the essentials for starting a business. This is something that is very much a difference maker.
Well, it is, and we see a lot of people who are starting side businesses, sole proprietorships, and they get so far with their idea. They've got the passion, the grit, the know-how, but they can only get so far. What this is going to do is really kick open the door and give them what they need to move it forward.
Who would you describe as kind of that typical person who would be interested in this?
I think it's someone who may be working full-time still and thinking about a business idea, may already have started that side business. It could be someone in health, personal services. We see a lot of retail. There's some technology as well. So it's any person who's already thinking about the small business idea. It could be a sole proprietorship, but it could be a larger business. So we welcome everyone to come and learn more.
Okay, talk about the location where.
It's at the John Bonner Neighborhood Centers.
Okay, near east side of Indianapolis.
Near east side on 10th Street.
Oh, and I should mention, there's also going to be a special event right toward the end of that 2-week period where you're inviting the community to come in and really sample some of these products and wares.
Yeah, we're thrilled to have the opportunity to have a public trading day, is what they call it in the UK. So that's really, we're going to create our own mall. And we want the public to come and support these entrepreneurs, look at their products, see what's going on, buy it. And the big idea is they want to make their first dollar at the PopUp Business School.
Very good. The John Bonner Community or Neighborhood Centers on East 10th Street, October 21 to November 1. The PopUp Business School, Indianapolis, only the second city in the United States to host this PopUp Business School. Teresa Bennett from IUPUI. Thanks for joining us. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
All right. Well, a reminder, all of our Eye on Education segments can be found at InsideIndianaBusiness.com. And if you have a story idea or suggestion for our segment, please send them to lead producer Tara Twig at ttwig@growindiana.net. Well, the Indy 11 are about to wrap up a very successful regular season and head into the United Soccer League playoffs. Bill Benner has more in this week's Inside Indiana Sports. Bill.
Gary, thanks. Despite a recent rough road stretch, the 11 already have qualified for the USL playoffs, especially because of an amazing run of dominance on their home pitch at Lucas Oil Stadium. Joining us today to discuss the season thus far and to offer an update on plans for a hoped-for new home of the Indy 11 Park is team president and CEO Greg Stremall. Greg, we had you on earlier in the year, and now we're back, and it's been a heck of a good season.
It's been a great year, both on and off the field, Bill. As you said, we've already locked a playoff spot. We need to be a bit more consistent on the road, but we can't complain of the friendly confines of Lucas Oil Stadium. 23 straight unbeaten games dating back to last July 4th, 2018.
And you've established a record for points, I believe wins in the season.
Most points, most wins, 17 wins already so far. We've got 3 remaining games, 2 at home, 1 on the road.
Doing very well also at the gate, the number 2, I believe, in attendance.
Number 2 out of 36 teams in the league in attendance, second only to a brand new team in New Mexico. So we're ahead of a lot of bigger market teams, which we're really pleased by.
What's the underlying reason for the success, you think?
I think honestly, since the franchise came into establishment, we've really grown it organically. We've got a great fan base. We have a superb supporter section with the BYB, the Brickyard Battalion, which everybody loves. They're really enthusiastic. They support our boys in blue throughout. So I think a lot of that has been instrumental. And of course, having a great product on the field with a super fan experience.
And again, this Lucas Oil Stadium thing, it's amazing that they just bring it up a couple of levels at home.
They absolutely do. I think between the BYB and our home fans and just knowing every angle of the pitch, they're really putting it together at home.
And as much as we all love Lucas Oil Stadium, the 11 have been got a legislative approval to pursue a new home field somewhere down the road. What's the latest there?
Well, as I think your viewers know, April 29th, Governor signed enabling legislation into law, so we are proceeding ahead, full steam ahead with 11 Park. We've been working behind the scenes on a few really strategic items, not in any order, but we've really started with over a dozen site locations. We're in what I would call the whittle down process. We're down to literally a handful. I can't speak about each one of those individually today, but in the next few months, we look forward to announcing that to the public. At the same time, we just closed an RFP, a request for proposal, for a national design firm and architect. And same thing, we'll be announcing that in the next few months to the public.
And you've spent much of your summer traveling to other venues that would be similar to what the Indy 11 hope to eventually have.
That's right. We believe there's no sense in trying to recreate the wheel. Let's go and see what the best practices are around this great country. So we've been sitting with the likes of Orlando City. We've gone and seen the new Alliance Field in Minneapolis. We'll be in LA to see LAFC and meet with their team ownership and their senior management team, really to bring back those practices and lessons learned. I mean, there's been a lot of candor that's flowed, so we don't make the same mistakes that other cities have.
I was going to say, what's been your best point of learning from visiting those other sites?
I think a lot of it is making sure everything from broadcast needs in venue to a great fan experience. So oftentimes you look at an empty building, we're going and wanting to make sure we see the building full, because that's how we intend 11 Park to be. So how do we make sure that people can flow, they can really have a great experience, that the amenities within the venue are premium? And so those are a lot of the things we're bringing back into Indianapolis.
We've got about 45 seconds as we wrap up. You hope to have shovels in the ground sometime next spring?
Yeah, I mean, after we announce the site location, we're hoping, if we stay on schedule, probably fall of 2020 will be shovels in the ground, again, if everything goes according to plan.
And an opening of the venue?
We continue to try and potentially be in for home opener of 2022, so April of 2022. Again, a lot of things need to happen between now and then. It is part of our process, but we continue to stay on track.
And before that, though, however, in the here and now, playoffs would open the weekend of?
October 28th. Okay. We're hoping to host, of course, but the weekend of October 28th, the boys in blue will be in action.
All right, Greg Stremolo, the president and CEO of the Indy 11. All the best to you.
Thank you,
and
Bill.
Let's bring home a championship.
You got it.
Gary, back to you.
All right, Bill, thank you. Well, up next, some of the state's top universities are teaming up with the Indiana Innovation Institute for Indiana National Lab Day. Our special panel of insiders are here to talk about what's behind the initiative and how it could mean a big payday for Indiana. There they are in the Inside Indiana Business Social Media Lounge, presented by Star Commercial Banking, Indiana born for Indiana business. Well, Indiana National Lab Day is October 7th. It's Monday. It's an effort to bring together researchers, industry, government, and other key stakeholders from Indiana and the U.S. to build on the research capabilities and strengths in Indiana in the areas of trusted microelectronics, artificial intelligence, hypersonics, and quantum science. We have a special insiders panel this week to talk about the importance of this day. And joining me on that panel, pleased to be joined by the director of the Purdue Quantum Science and Engineering Institute, Yang Chen. Also, Indiana Innovation Institute, senior scientist, Dr. Ron Goldblatt, and IU Bloomington interim vice provost for research, Jeff Zaleski. And gentlemen, welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me.
Indiana Lab Day sounds like a kind of a generic kind of thing, but in terms of the topics that will be discussed, the people who will be there, the universities, the organizations involved, this is really a big day in Indiana. Talk about what it's all about.
It's an enormous opportunity for Indiana. I don't think that most people outside the state recognize the breadth and depth of the academic excellence and the power that you get when you combine the three major universities, Notre Dame, Purdue, and IU. They all have very specialized skills, and combined can deliver a tremendous amount of power and academic excellence. So other states have national lab days. This will be the first time in Indiana for us to have an opportunity to demonstrate what we have here.
And this is about ultimately how the state, how collaborations can attract research dollars and other types of investment that can be really very substantial.
Yes.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, let's talk about some of these key areas now. Artificial intelligence, we all hear about that. It's changing the way we do things in our daily lives. At IU, Indiana University, going to be really talking about that on a panel. What are you going to be talking about when it comes to AI?
Indiana University is top shelf in terms of being able to have computing power like no one else. And so from that point of view, artificial intelligence is taking over our everyday lives. It's basically a method by which computers learn and function and think for themselves. So I use computing power coupled with our faculty that are experts in artificial intelligence is going to allow us to lead this effort, not only for the state, but incorporate national labs such that we have a power that no one else can can match.
Yeah, and a lot of people just, as you say, have no idea that exists here in Indiana. Another focus area for Indiana, quantum information science, and that's an area that Purdue's very, very much engaged in.
Absolutely. So we launched Purdue Quantum Science Engineering Institute this January, but building upon a lot of the research strength in quantum science technology at Purdue already in the last several years. Quantum is really one of the most exciting technology right now. I mean, think about if 100 years ago, you could never imagine things like computers, internet, GPS, lasers. But today we take these for granted. But quantum will be the technology for tomorrow, for the next 100 years, that things we don't even have name for. I mean, we're talking about having such a powerful computational device, among others, design and make new drug, and tremendously speed up the business transactions, and just name a few. So it's going to have a big impact, and we look forward to working with IU, Notre Dame, and also Indiana industry and national labs to solve some of the really grand challenge problem and create a new opportunity for the future technology.
And you mentioned, and that's a key to point out here, this is a partnership among IU, Purdue, and Notre Dame. We're going to have a Notre Dame representative on the panel, but hypersonics, that's another area. Notre Dame's really focused on that. Talk about what hypersonics is all about.
Most people don't think about hypersonics too often because essentially it's moving at 5 or 6 times the speed of sound. So we're talking something on the order of 4,000 miles an hour. So in other words, trying to understand how objects move at that rate, being able to develop technologies to not only detect objects moving at that rate, but to generate, shall we say, propulsion mechanisms by which to move objects at that speed. So think of lighting a match in a hurricane. How do you do something like that? What kind of materials can you use to go at that speed? These are all new areas for science and new areas for technology. And as we said earlier, the Department of Defense is particularly interested in both offensive and defensive mechanisms using hypersonics.
And what I think people may not realize, so many of these assets and so much of this academic and intellectual firepower in these areas exists here in Indiana. Yes. Right, already. Other states are doing this kind of thing. Do you think Indiana, from a competitive standpoint, has an advantage?
I think we absolutely do, because all of the necessary components are within the state boundaries. Many other places have to reach out of their state and form collaboration is always difficult, but it's easier when the geography is close and the people work well together. And Indiana also has a very particular type of person here, and I think that all lends very much so to the needs of the nation and success in these areas.
In terms of the potential, as we were talking off camera, you think it could be in the billions of dollars, especially when you layer in Department of Defense and the assets that exist here with Crane and other areas in the state. Talk about that.
Well, I think, again, the opportunity is really unbounded. When you stop and think about these areas, the military applications and the military needs are significant. So, hypersonics has applications in basic science, but certainly in strategic applications on both an offensive and defensive perspective. There's a great deal of funding that's going to go into making sure we solve the problem.
Yeah. This is part of a process. So what's it going to take to get from where we are today to begin to realize some of the payoff, I guess, if you will? What needs to happen?
A continued interaction between the national labs and the academic institutions. Many of these national lab folks are not currently working with the academic institutions in the state. So the workshops that we're going to have on Monday and then later after that will allow us to continue that relationship and build on those strengths such that we interface better and build bigger, stronger projects looking forward.
Yeah, as you look at the perspective from Purdue, I'm sure you share a lot of the same outlook. A focus area at Purdue to really participate, collaborate with other universities in this area?
Absolutely. In fact, in April, we held a joint workshop with Indiana University on quantum science technology. And you may know also both Purdue and Notre Dame have some really advanced testing, such as wind tunnel facilities for hypersonics. And back to the quantum area, now it's a very exciting year because we are eagerly, working very closely also with some of the partners, including national labs, under this framework of National Quantum Initiative. I think that will create a lot of exciting opportunities and growth in this area.
All right, it's a major event coming up Monday. Yang Chen, also Jeff Zaleski, Ron Goldblatt. Thanks for being here. It's National Lab Day in Indiana. 10 of 17 Department of Energy national labs will be represented. Senior White House official will be here. It's going to be a big event. Thank you one and all for being here.
Thank
we'll
you
talk
for
to you
having
soon.
us.
Thank
all
you.
right.
Thank you.
And I'll be right back after this. Coming up next week, Indiana Secretary of Commerce Jim Schellinger will be in studio. He's just back from a trade trip to China and India. He'll talk about Indiana's growing global profile. Thanks for joining us this week. I'm Gary Dick. Go out and make it a successful week.
Inside Indiana Business with Gary Dick is a production of Grow Indiana Media Ventures with support from WFYI Productions.